live, sir.
All right, all right.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Borderland Sports Reports. Man, we just watched some good football today,
I did.
tonight,
It's awesome to get to be a fan and not have to be part of them games now.
and that Eastwood El Dorado game lived up to the billing.
Well, not if you're a defensive coordinator.
True.
You probably finna have some tough conversations with the head coach
Definitely,
tomorrow morning.
definitely. But hey, before we get started on these games, there's a couple of things we wanted to kind of brush on and talk about a little bit. UTEP athletics, for example. Um, I did a little research, and as much as people complain and gripe and whatnot, they actually make money.
$5 million.
They actually make money. So, I mean, kudos to the UTEP athletic program for turning over a well-earned profit. And I think a lot of it probably was basketball, being on
Well,
TV.
Yeah, it's TV money for football, TV money for basketball. Football, they don't just play Nebraska and Tennessee for no reason.
Yep.
They get money for that. And them games really probably do a lot towards paying for the rest of the athletic budget. A lot of people don't understand the revenue and non-revenue sports. But, there's only two sports at UTEP that turn a profit and the rest don't. And, a lot of people talk about getting rid of the football program. Well, if that happens, you're going to get rid of a lot of programs.
Definitely. And and I myself have been one to say they need to look at moving down. But when you think about it in the big picture, if they move down, they're gonna hurt. They're gonna lose athletic programs.
You lose money. You lose TV. You lose
Definitely.
TV. You lose ad revenue, marketing.
So we got to figure out a way to sell El Paso.
But it ain't too hard. I like it here.
True that. But now let's look at these games. So Thursday night we had two games, and I don't even think either one of them was close. Neither one of them was close. You had Franklin 51, America 17.
It's a tough week. It's a tough week to be a Franklin Cougar. They had one of their players die, and being a coach and managing that situation, still preparing for a game, is not something that's fun to do. It's something I've had to do in my career. In 2019, we actually had a kid die the night before our game against Pebble Hills, and we go into that game down 21-0 and end up winning 70-28. So it took our kids a little bit to come alive. But kudos to Coach Walker for managing his team. He's not new. Dude's been doing this for a long time. So he did a great job of managing that and pulling out a game against a team that's struggling, but has potential.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, kudos to those young men for, having that intestinal fortitude to step out there on the field and play for their fallen brother. I mean,
At the end of the day, they do him a disservice by not doing what they're supposed to do.
yeah, definitely. And then the other game was Tornillo won 34-0. Kudos to you, Tornillo.
Tornillo. There was a time,
Non-varsity opponent, so.
but didn't they just get rid of their program?
Well, they
At
didn't
one
get
point?
rid of the program. They ended the season early.
Okay.
Was it last year, the year before last? It was last year.
Was
They
it?
ended the season early. They didn't have enough players to play.
So that still getting to put a team on the field is great for them. It's great for those kids. Those kids need the benefits of interscholastic athletics just like everybody else. So the fact that they can withstand that adversity and still go out and be successful, however it is awesome.
Definitely. Now let's transition over to today. We had two big matchups that I want to look at. Let's start with the Del Valle Canyon Teal matchup.
I mean, what are we gonna say about Jacob Fetty that we hadn't already said about Tom Brady? Like, the dude is the real deal. That guy is great to watch. He's doing awesome things. He's pretty much put that team on his back, and it's gonna go as he goes, and apparently it's going well. They put up 30 plus points on a team that hadn't given up
They
2
they
touchdowns
had
on the year.
2 shutouts, I think.
But last week I think they
Yeah.
gave up 2 touchdowns. So they gave up 2 touchdowns for the year, and they go in and make it look easy against a well coached Scott Brooks team.
And my opinion, it was probably the 2 top teams in the city going into
I
the
believe
game.
they were.
Going into the game.
I believe they were.
Yeah.
They're the best 2 teams in the city, right as of right now for
Yeah.
sure.
Now we flip this and we go to the El Dorado Eastwood game. Now, folks, I'm gonna throw old coach under the bus here, cause he called Eastwood to win this game, and he called a blowout.
When did I call
This
that?
was earlier in the week.
No, just we can't let Julio know I picked him. No, I didn't really call it. I thought it was going to be a good game. It seems that El Dorado is really coming into their own. The kids that they've been grooming for several years
Yeah.
are finally healthy and clicking, and it shows. And today, this was their Super Bowl tonight. I'm going to be honest with you. This was their Super Bowl. They're starting district play next week in a district that really just hadn't shown any fight at all. So really this was the last test for them going into the playoffs. And, they passed.
So now 54-55 final score. Ray, oh my goodness. I don't know what the final yards were, but he was pushing 300.
He had a lot, and he did what he is supposed to do. And they fed him the ball when they were supposed to feed him the ball. And, it's funny, a lot of people, everybody on the planet knows that I was a run-first guy.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't a run-first guy. I was a do what was best for us guy. But that just happened to be run-first. But if you look at all the best teams in the state, you look across all levels, high school, college, they're the teams that can establish the run game early. And if you can do that, it's going to be – you're going to be successful in the year.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as a coach, it is more demoralizing to your opponent to run the ball on them than it is to throw the ball on them. To just pound it down their throat. I'm going to give this guy the ball, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It destroys the psyche of the opponents. Those kids can't handle that. And that's what they did tonight. I want to say they ran the ball with less than 5 minutes coming from their side of the field. They're going to hand the ball off, and he did what he needed to do.
Now, Coach, I am going to give you your props because we were sitting there watching the game, and the last 5 minutes, you were 95% right on every call. and I was sitting there, and even the final play, you called it down to everything that was going to happen. And, I'm just going to say this. I am happy to have you here with me, but I'm not happy to have you here with me, if that makes sense.
It makes it boring, huh?
No, not that it makes it boring. Just your mind. I sitting here with me, I think, is not helping a team win.
It's okay. This keeps me close to the game. Keeps my mind sharp for the game. And what he's talking about I was calling Eastwood's plays before they ran them. And I'm not gonna lie to you. The amount of film that I've watched on Eastwood since Coach Lopez has been there it's tens of thousands of hours. And that's because they're a good program. And we knew year in and year out that if we were going to be a successful program, that had to be one of the people that we beat. So, yeah, I watched a lot of film on them, and I could call the plays, and our kids could call the plays. And that's why we had probably a little more success against them than other people have. But, yeah, no, it was fun a little bit. I have my juices going a little bit right now.
Now, to Eastwood's credit, second half, Joseph Cox, I don't know what happened, but he didn't come out the second half to play, and they bought in the backup. They held their own. They had to run the ball probably a little bit more than what they liked.
But they didn't blink. They
No.
didn't blink. So, Jude Walker had a night. He had a night, and this is multiple nights for him.
Yeah.
I told you week one when you were asking why did they go play St. John Bosco, I said, out of all that, you saw a sophomore quarterback that threw 2 touchdowns against a nationally ranked team, and a receiver that caught 2 touchdowns against a nationally ranked team. And that kid has been putting up stats since that week. So absolutely, they found some positive in that. But
Yeah.
they had a night. They didn't change their offense. They didn't change the play call, and they didn't change much of it. They went on, and that's what a coach is supposed to do. That means he was preparing his backups just like he prepared his starters.
Outside of that one play where the young man threw the interception down at the goal line, he just threw it up.
Yeah.
The young man came in and he handled himself pretty well.
He did, but he's a kid that plays in another position, so he's used to the game time pressure. So
Yeah.
He handled himself well. Hopefully, prayers go out to the other kid, and hopefully he's okay to play the rest of the season.
Yep. And so those were two of the games we watched. The third game that I sit down and watched was the congratulations to Socorro. Socorro and Cathedral. Socorro, I owe you all an apology because I thought Cathedral was going to beat you all, and y'all proved me wrong. So Socorro's got their second win.
I don't think Socorro's won 2 games since Paulo Gonzalez was a coach. I think he won 4 games in his last year as a coach there, and before he got out of before he stopped being the head coach there, and this is monumental for them, and people will say things like, oh, well, they're a much bigger school, or it doesn't matter. When Michael Jordan used to play his son, trust me, he was trying to beat his son. It doesn't matter what age his son was. Competitors are going to compete, and them learning how to compete in game situations is great for their program. So good job, Coach Cano, getting your second win. Enjoy it. Get ready for the next week.
Yeah. So we're going to run down the rest of these scores. You had Coronado 30-10 over Parkland. I tell you, man, that's and you know what? Before we even go any further, I want to bring up something that we brought up last week. And you made a very valid point. They do not give out non-conference championships.
Non-district trophies, there's no such thing. So it very well, Parkland's 0-4, and that's not a position that Parkland's used to being in. As long as Coach McWhorter can go and watch the film and fix the things, I mean, they're going to be a playoff team. They're in a 4-team district. They're playing in a district where does anybody have a win besides El Dorado? Bel Air won their first game. So really, it's still wide open for those guys. So, Lee's an experienced coach, and he's gonna go figure out what he needs to do. But the pressure is on a little bit now that we're going in the district.
Yeah.
And Coronado, I going into the season, and I'm a little bit biased because as a coach, it didn't matter what the records were. I always felt like Coronado was a tough game. And
Yeah.
I told you going into the season, I thought they were going to be a good football team and one of the playoff teams.
And I did too.
So, although they lost, they played a good football team and did some things and had some positives. So it's gonna make them better.
Yep. Next game we have is Horizon and Hanks. So Hanks is 142-21 over Horizon. They started this way last year, got into district play, and the wheels kind of came off. We'll see. I mean, they definitely are putting up some numbers.
They're in a tough district. They're in a tough district because we talked about we thought the best 2 teams in the city was Canutillo and Del Valle, and they're in that district.
Yeah.
So and then you put with them Chapin and Andrus, who although Andrus didn't play very well tonight, they're still Andrus.
Yeah.
That's one of the most winningest programs in El Paso history. So they're in a difficult situation, and he's going to have to find some inches in there to go take.
Yeah.
In order to get into the playoffs, but he's got that program moving in the right direction. He's created the buzz, he's created the hype. Them kids believe. The head coach at Horizon was the offensive coordinator at Hanks last year, so that game meant a little bit to those kids.
Yeah.
So Scott was one of our he was the guest on the last show, and He's gonna have them ready. Everything's about to shake itself out.
Yeah, yeah. Is it next week? District play starts.
District trade started for them this week.
Okay.
This was Conatillo and Del Valle was
Yeah,
a district game,
yeah.
and actually district started for them last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next was, and we just mentioned Andrus and Chapin. 54-8. Now, I've been watching this Chapin team. They're explosive.
Those guys are loaded. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, probably the most talented team in El Paso, talent-wise. You know, they've got a new head coach, and he's still finding his bearings a little bit. And as he goes through the season, obviously he's gonna grow along with his kids. But they're loaded. They're extremely talented, and guys that you've never heard of are good players. And they did what they were supposed to do tonight.
Yeah.
You know, if they can continue to grow when they get to those Del Valle and Conatillo games, I think we're gonna be talking about some games of the week, because Davion Singleton he's a showstopper. He's somebody to come watch.
He had a game today.
Oh yeah.
He had a game today, and their quarterback played well too. Next up, Pebble Hills and Cleveland. Cleveland won 42-27 over Pebble Hills. For a minute there, I thought Pebble Hills was gonna make it a game, and then that second half, Cleveland just pulled away. I think we looked up one time, and kid was running like 60 yards down the field untouched.
So everybody here knows that Rio Rancho Cleveland is one of the powerhouse schools from New Mexico. And it's funny when we start talking about El Paso against New Mexico, it's to me it's a little comical that their entire state gauges their seasons off how they do against El Paso teams.
Yeah.
Like one city against a whole state. Rio Rancho is a perennial powerhouse there, and they've got an established program. And when we got late into the second half, absolutely that part of it took over. And Coach Warner hadn't had a chance yet to establish that kind of foundation in his program yet. You know, he's still in his first year. He hadn't been there very long. So, you know, if he continues to do things, so obviously they were doing some good things.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't finish. So that could be the next part. Again, they're getting ready for district as well. So, you know, they're going to be pushing to get a playoff spot, and if they can continue to grow, this was a good gauge for them to see where they're at.
Definitely. So, and you know, we've touched on this, and it kind of goes back to the next game, Mountain View versus Isleta. Isleta won 40-14. I don't think there was much surprise there. Isleta, I think, they got a very good ball team down there.
They do. They've got a good ball team. You know, the coach has been there for a few years now, and he was on staff prior to getting the head job, so he's been a part of building that team up. And for me, I like Lower Valley kids. I don't know what it is. I think those kids play extremely hard. But, you know, I said that about Mountain View as well. I think those kids play extremely hard.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that they handled this game pretty good is a good indicator for them on the season. And I think they might, you know, be one of those teams that does well throughout the year and into the postseason.
We've been talking about this since week one, quarterback play. Quarterback play, definitely. The next three games, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but we're going to kind of go through these. Burgess 41, Jefferson 12, Bowie 19, Clint 29. Now, I am going to stop right there because I actually thought Bowie was going to win that game.
No shot.
I actually thought they were going to win that game.
So y'all know that Clint is one of them. It's one of my favorite programs out here. You know, I've talked about them. I've talked about Coach Martinez and what he's done. I need everybody to understand that guy has been the head coach at Clint High School since 2005.
Yeah.
So he's known every one of those kids that plays for him their entire life. Because once they live there, they're not moving.
Yeah.
Those are Clint kids. So he's been knowing those kids their entire life. And he's been running that program that way the entire time. So, again, that's that foundation.
Yeah.
They're going to always play hard, play tough.
Oh, yeah, Clint definitely has a very good team. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just, the underdog thing. I thought this was Bowie was going to take that next step, I thought.
Well, Clint does some things on offense that if you don't know how to defend it, you're not gonna defend it. The style of offense that they run is very unique, and given the style of offenses most of the teams in El Paso run, it's something that those kids will only see for 3 or 4 practices and have to prepare for. Where El Paso, there's a lot of teams that have no tight end, no fullback. They're trying to throw the ball. They see that every week. They're prepared for that. Now you got to change gears, and in 3 or 4 days, prepare for a team that does something totally different. That gives Clinton advantage.
Definitely. Then the next game, Midland Montwood. Midland won 69-7.
So it's funny that this is the next game because if you ever watch Midland High play, they throw like 2 or 3 passes, and they run a similar style offense to Clint. So again, we're talking about Montwood, who never sees that. They never see that type of offense, and now you have to get ready for it in 3 practices, 3.5 practices, because the last day is a cleanup day. It's tough for those schools. And it seems like Montwood's in kind of a struggle phase because they were senior heavy last year.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of great players last year in Oaxaca, and in their running back, his name is slipping my mind right now.
Yeah.
Isaiah Claudio.
Claudio.
So they're having to find themselves as well, and that's not a game that you want to play when you're still trying to find yourself.
Definitely. Then the last 2 games are Riverside 56 over Irvin 34. And then Anthony won 36-30 over Van Horn.
Riverside's rolling.
They are
Riverside is
rolling.
rolling. Coach Chavez got his first job, got that team rolling, and I don't know if he's got that team rolling or he's keeping that team rolling from the job he helped Coach Recorder, the program he helped Coach Recorder establish. So, they're doing good things. They're playing confidently. They're playing good ball, and I think they're one of the best teams in the city.
I'm going to see if we can get an update on these last 2 real quick.
It was Fabins and Sanelli.
Yes.
How about Sanelli having one of the leading rushers in the state of Texas right now? I love seeing that.
For sure. Yeah, I don't have an update on that one. Let me see. No updates. Those are the last couple of games that we're waiting on scores on. So, I think that's going to wrap up for the scores. Is there anything else we wanted to hit on? I know we talked about UTEP. We went through the scores. I thought there was something else.
I know that I had talked to you a little bit about, and this kind of ties into what we talked about UTEP. UTEP they're 0-3. Coach Walden brought in a lot of hype. He's a young guy, new coach to not FCS, but
FBS.
To FCS.
Yeah.
Because he came from FBS, and he came and he brought in a lot of energy. They got the uniform combinations, they got the helmets, they got the brand new locker room. Their locker room's immaculate. I don't know if you saw that, but at the end of the day, we still got to go play football.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, and he's going to get them there. I promise you, he's going to get them there. He's a good coach.
I hope he gets a chance to get him there.
He's going to have a chance. But, a lot of our society now stopped being process-oriented and started being results-oriented.
Yeah.
And anybody that's been in coaching for long enough knows that results are about process. You're not going to get the results till you do the process. So the uniform combinations, the different helmets, let's hook up the locker room. At the end of the day, none of that matters if you're not coaching. That's gravy. That's not the meat and the potatoes. The meat and potatoes happens in the off season. The meat and potatoes happens in the spring. The meat and potatoes is what you need to establish those programs that when it comes down to the fourth quarter and they go back to their foundation, that they're going to be successful. Those things are hype. Those are that all that has been created by social media and look at me, and kids are forgetting and athletes are forgetting the process. And now you're going to have to put the process in after you did all those things.
A lot of that too, though, is a byproduct of the changing landscape.
Oh yeah.
NIL is a lot of it because now not only NIL, but the reality is this: these kids can transfer every semester
Yeah.
and still be eligible to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like there, and I've had this conversation with several of my friends that are college coaches, and one of the statements was this: there will be a time when you'll see a kid transfer 10 times.
Probably.
Won't graduate.
How many times did Bo Nix transfer?
They won't graduate, but they'll transfer 10 times.
And it's I am on the fence about NIL. As a former college football player, I wish I wouldn't have been broke. I wish the money that I got would have been over the table and not under the table. But I also feel like there's no regulation with it. The NIL with the transfer portal has ruined college football. I don't want to say it was the NIL, and I don't want to say it's the transfer portal. It's those things together that I think has made it difficult for small market teams to be successful. And it's changed recruiting tremendously. I don't think that, kids wanting to go Division One, that's not going to happen anymore. Unless you're the best player in your position, it's not going to happen. So now what's going to happen is the mid-majors, the FBS schools, the FCS schools and the Division Twos are going to turn into what JUCO used to be. Kids are going to go there, they're going to get filmed for 1 or 2 years, and they're going to transfer out to try to chase that money. And that's okay by me. I'm all about everybody getting theirs. But it has changed. It's one of the reasons that Nick Saban retired. He was like, I don't like having to recruit my own kids every year.
I will, and I'm on the whole other side of that fence in this aspect. You can't make billions and billions of dollars off of these young men and women
Oh, I agree.
and not give them something.
I absolutely agree. I said I'm not against the NIL.
And some of them will be like, well, they get an education. Is that education really costing that school anything?
But the NIL money doesn't even come from the schools.
Well, now they can do these collectives, and I think there's pending litigation where these schools will probably be able to start paying these student athletes for their name, image, and likeness.
There's only 11 states where high school kids can't get NIL.
And Texas
Think
happens to
about
be
that.
one of them. But I was watching this documentary on I want to say it's on Amazon Prime,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Money Game,
Mm-hmm.
and it follows LSU.
Okay.
And so it's talking about Angela Reese,
Angel Reese.
yes, Angel Reese, Flaugier, the quarterback, was it Caleb? What was the quarterback they just had?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, the gymnast. There's about 4 or 5 athletes that they follow, and Shaquille's part of this. But they follow how, it was funny. There was a statement like after LSU won that national championship that nobody expected them to win.
Yeah, nobody knew they won because everybody's on the Caden Clark bandwagon.
They made a statement. The price just went up.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, it really is about the money. And that's cool. Like, here's where I agree with you. That's cool. Get your money. But at the same time, they've got to realize that they don't make the money if they're not playing,
Yeah.
if they're not winning.
So I think what helps the entire situation is that all the NCAA would have to do is say you're only eligible for NIL at the place that you went to originally. If they do something like that, that'll stop the transfer portal situation.
Yeah, but you
and
can't
you can
do
still
that.
get your money.
But it's still just like I guess I have a problem with the fact that every other student that walks a college campus can make money except for athletes.
Well, that's always been the case. While I was in college, they finally started allowing us to work.
Yeah, but I'm saying like why? Why do the athletes have to, why can't they
You-
make money?
You know why. That's a whole
That's
other
but that's my
conversation.
issue, and so but yeah, well, you're gonna take me down this rabbit hole. I'm not going down this rabbit hole with you
Not
tonight.
tonight. Not tonight.
But no, another week of exciting football here in the Borderland for sure. We're gonna have to do one of these and bring on a NIL. We have to make some phone calls and get a couple NIL experts to come on here and chop it up with us about that.
We can do that. We can call some kids that got NIL deals.
Yeah, yeah. There's some crazy money being offered right now too. But folks, this has been another episode of the Borderland Sports Report. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Steve Howard. This is my
Patrick Melton.
co-host Patrick Melton. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.